Hello, and welcome to episode 5 of 0451, a gaming podcast, with me, Simon, and of course, Giles.
Five. Halfway to double figures.
Amazing.
And that's when shit really gets real.
Or shit hits the fan.
Well, yeah.
I'm not sure which.
Crazy. Episode 5.
How have you been doing, Giles?
Yeah, I'm alright. How are you?
Good. Yeah, pretty good.
Good.
You've been playing some games?
Playing lots of those video games.
Actually, you've been playing quite a lot of video games.
I'm always playing quite a lot of video games.
Completing a lot of video games.
Well, that's the hope, I guess. But I guess it's your, as we always kick off with what we've been playing, it's your turn this week, right?
It
to
is,
start.
I suppose,
so
yeah.
I should hand it over to the PC gaming contingent, our PC gaming correspondent.
Yeah. So, I mean, well, I haven't been playing as much as I'd want to, but I did do 24 hours of gaming on Saturday.
Yeah, the live stream, of course.
Yeah. So we did a bunch of us from my workplace. We did a 24-hour charity gaming event that most of us also live streamed at the time. And it was pretty good. It was pretty fun. Actually, we did 9 a.m. till 9 a.m. Saturday to Sunday. And so I started off, I played a bit of WoW for like the first hour. And then I had to get some stuff set up. And then I ended up playing Ark Survival Evolved.
Ark Survival Evolved.
Yeah.
On PC. Because
Yes.
it's out on console. I hear it's coming to Switch. Mental. How's that going to work? Anyway.
What?
Yeah, it's coming to Switch.
Oh, yes, it is. That's right. Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Continue.
Yeah. No, it's Ark Survival Evolved. If you don't know it, it is a crafting survival game. Like a lot of those games that came out in the wake of Minecraft's success, and then sort of DayZ and the like, you know, the sort of survival game. It's been doing pretty well, actually.
It came out quite a while. I think it went into early access quite a while ago, and then it came out a little while. Like it's
only just hit 1.0.
Yeah. But it's got console release, and like I say, it's coming to Switch. So I'm not sure how it runs on consoles. I think there's been some, hiccups with how it runs on consoles, from what I understand.
Well, to be honest, it doesn't really run that great on PC.
On PC. So
I mean, yeah, they use Unreal Engine 4, but I think I don't know whether they're just the kind of developers who just want to throw all of the bells and whistles at a game and just kind of optimize later, or whether their design kind of concepts were just really like, we want a really high quality, high graphical, like a high bar for the graphics in this game. To be honest, sometimes it looks a bit too overdone. There's a little bit too much post-processing. It's too high contrast.
it's like Crisis with dinosaurs.
Yeah, because like, I mean, I was sort of starting to explain it and then I tailed off.
Yeah, sorry, it's probably my fault.
No, it's cool. So it's basically, the idea is that you're kind of like a prehistoric man. You start off like a prehistoric man, and you spawn in an area that's inhabited by dinosaurs. But it's obviously it's not like meant to be a sort of historical game in any way, really. It's not like sort of like Far Cry Primal or something like that.
Right,
it's not meant to be set in prehistoric times. It's more of an alternative universe because, I mean, for one thing, you meet fucking robot dinosaurs.
Well, I mean, I don't know how much basis there is for narrative. I mean, is there a big narrative? Because my assumption was it was sort of like a survival multiplayer, not multiplayer centric, but you know what I mean.
I think it's more of the sort of like a love child of all of the 80s style boy fantasies of, you know, dinosaurs and robots and guns, because you can make guns in it, right? Like this sort
of course you can.
Yeah, you can eventually you can make guns, which is just weird. All the cool things in one game, you know. You remember Far Cry Blood Dragon?
Yeah.
Right. It was kind of just a It's like a love letter to the
it
to
didn't
the
really,
ridiculous 80s
didn't
over
really
the
matter.
over the top.
Yeah, didn't really make sense.
Fun.
Okay.
So you start off in an island. You gather resources by hitting bits of wood, punching trees to start with. That's how you gather resources. And then you can make hatchets, and you go on and on up the chain. But you can build houses as well, build structures. You can also tame dinosaurs. You can tranquilize them, and then you've got to sort of watch them for a while until they're tamed, and then you can put saddles on them and ride them, and you can use them to forage for resources and things like that. There are also PvE and PvP servers, so people can really fuck up your bases if you're not careful.
So I mean, how does it incorporate narrative? Because one of my favorite games of this year, was Subnautica.
Yeah, that's really good.
Which is kind of a similar kind of thing, except it's underwater.
Yeah.
It's not dissimilar to Ark or those kind of games,
it's not
right?
too dissimilar.
And but it's underwater and it's on an alien planet. But the way that game laces narrative into its survival elements is like perfect. I haven't seen another survival game do it that well. Yeah, so I'm curious. I haven't played Ark, but I'm curious to see how it kind of incorporates story. And
it doesn't do any of that shit. It doesn't do it. I mean, I think there's some kind of backstory. There's some weird stuff happening. Like you get these big lights that go up in the sky, which are kind of like loot areas. You can find stuff in, and they look like they're sort of part of a narrative. I don't know. There's nothing in the game though when you start that guides you through. Like in Subnautica, there's a clear narrative there right from the start.
But it doesn't tell you where to go. It's really good because you just happen upon it.
You mean Subnautica?
Yeah, in Subnautica.
Yeah. No, I know.
You just happen upon it. So it's not telegraphed.
But at least in Subnautica, there's some semblance of why you're there and why you got there.
Yeah.
And there's clues and there's notes and there's audio logs, right, and things like that.
Yeah.
You don't pick up any of that stuff in Ark. Like there's none of that stuff in Ark at all. I think it's just the indie developers just decided to go, no, we want to make a cool game about crafting stuff in a dinosaur infested island.
I mean, it's certainly ambitious for an indie game, right?
It's pretty ambitious, yeah. I think it's probably one of the more over ambitious actually still now because it sometimes can run like dog shit. Also, one of the weird aspects of it, probably the weirdest, is the characters, like the player characters. Have you seen the player characters in Ark?
I have, I believe, and they are. Well, I thought they'd updated them or patched them, but they're proper weird.
Yeah, I first played it must have been either alpha or beta, and I saw the character creator. I was like, what the hell is this? Because it's like the ugliest prehistoric man you can imagine. And they're all kind of like Arnold Schwarzenegger, like muscle men, right? But then because they have a lot of sliders for the various different body parts, you can make the weirdest combinations of people with like really, really skinny arms and huge, fat, long legs, but nobody's never, there's never a real body shape there. And it's fair enough, like maybe thinking about the idea is that maybe they're sort of Neanderthal types or something.
It's not on Earth, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, is it that you can choose male or female, my assumption is, right? And then edit from there?
Yes, you can. You can. So actually, the females probably look a bit more normal than the males.
Amazonian, right, though? So
you could make people just weird, massive heads, but then like tiny bodies but then huge muscular arms, right? Like tiny torsos and huge muscular arms, and it's pretty jarring. Looks really weird. But given that it's first person, you don't ever really see yourself. Although obviously you do have a character screen where you can upgrade skills. It's all RPG based, right? It has an RPG based leveling system where you level up and you can choose your whatever recipes that you want to unlock, right?
Yeah.
But it's just like the fantasy itself is fun, like the idea of sort of survival crafting in a dinosaur-ridden world.
Yeah.
And if you like crafting survival games, those sort of progression systems, then it's really, 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 really cool. And the fact that it's multiplayer, obviously, it's a big thing.
Been on my list for a while of games to check out. It's just one of those where Do I get it on PlayStation? Oh, apparently it runs like shit.
Mm-hmm.
Do I get it on PC? Oh, it's actually still quite expensive-ish. It's never like super cheap in the sales because it's got a current. I mean, it's not expensive, but it's got a current player base, so people are still buying it, right? So it's still 30 to 40 quid instead of it's never like a fiver.
No.
I think you can buy a base pack actually really cheap. And then because there's different versions you can buy with different content, at least on the console versions.
I think it's probably because it's actually pretty successful.
Yeah,
they're just not going to bother releasing it in sale for.
Why would you? But I mean, I just haven't picked it up yet, because I don't own it, so I don't.
Yeah, it was like, it's funny. Like, I think this is its thing. It's funny playing it multiplayer. Like cooperative multiplayer is the funniest, because just mad shit happens in that game. Just really mad, bonkers stuff that is intentional for the world to exist and work, intentional for the ecosystem, but can just cause effects that are just fucking weird. Like, we were playing the other day, and we'd built this house, and we'd been chopping down a lot of trees in the area, and obviously kind of mining rock and things like that. Now, the game has a system where it automatically renews resources as well, so you never have to sort of run out of resources eventually. You'll never strip the place dry and then have nothing to work with. But it'll just respawn stuff at random places. So at one point, it just respawned a huge rock outside of our base, at the door to our base. We couldn't get out. We had to pickaxe our way through the rock, and then suddenly was just surrounded by a huge turtle dinosaur that was about to attack us and our other pet. We had a pet dodo bird as well. This is a weird thing because you can get pets, right? Dodo birds, and a pet brontosaurus who were fighting this huge turtle outside of our base.
Position you find yourself in.
Yeah. Birds will come down, swoop, Brighton seagulls. They'll come down and swoop stuff out of your...
Right out of your hand.
Right out of your hand, yeah. He took your chips. So just weird stuff like that. But it is fun. And I think probably one of the best sides to Ark is that it has quite a fully sort of customizable server ability, as in you can customize every part of the game before you start a server, because some of the criticisms against Ark are things like animals take too long to tame, for example, in the base original game. If you try and tame a T-Rex, for example, it can take hours, and it takes 300 tranquilizer darts to bring him down, and then it'll take hours for you have to wait around for him to be tamed. But you can change all of that in a custom server. You can set up how quickly resources spawn, how quickly you level, so you can have a really, really quick game. You can have, on Saturday, obviously, we had 24 hours, but I wasn't playing Ark for 24 hours. We were playing it for 3 or 4 hours, and the level cap is 100, but we were at level 50, 60 in 2 or 3 hours, just because of the way we'd set the server up, right? Which is cool, because then you can experience all of that content without having to go through the grind, and sort of you don't have to sit there for hours. Sometimes with those kind of games, you barely get started, and then you're like, oh well, it's playtime's over, right? So how is it? Do you think it would be solo? Which is always I played it solo originally when I played it.
How is
before,
it?
Yeah, it's good. I played on a PvE server because I didn't want. It's just it's just going to be frustrating if I just made a base. And
there's always other people around then. It's not
if they're in the server, yeah, there are a lot of servers.
Oh right, so
it's I think the server cap might have been about 25 or something though, because it's one island. Yeah, basically, it's not like a MMO size space, right? It's one large island, but one island essentially. They've got a couple of other maps as well now since they got out of sort of, I think, at least since they got out of alpha anyway. So yeah, but solo is fun. It's fine. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the challenge of sort of avoiding dinosaurs and crafting resources and building up my base and making new things and kind of being excited about the next new thing I was going to unlock and that kind of thing, and wondering how I was going to build my base next, and then getting excited about maybe taming a dinosaur, and because you can create sort of like you'll tame certain dinosaurs to be almost like farm animals, right? Like the dodo bird, right?
Yeah.
Like lay eggs for you and stuff like that. And you'll tame others to get resources for you, and then others will be attack dinosaurs, right? Like a raptor or a T-Rex or something like that.
Yeah.
Right. I think it may actually be best played as a cooperative experience, best played, but that doesn't mean it diminishes it as a solo experience, though. I still think it's fun solo.
Yeah.
If you like that kind of game, right? If you like crafting, if you like those kind of progression systems that you get in crafting and survival games, and you like dinosaurs, especially if you like dinosaurs.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So the art style is the dinosaurs look really good. The world itself looks really good, but because of its performance issues, there's you'd usually have to dial stuff down quite a lot, right?
And the people,
even on a good PC,
and the people look a bit weird.
And the people look fucking weird,
Right?
Really weird. But yeah. So yeah, I've been playing that. I also just got 7 Days to Die, which again is another more crafting survival games. I haven't spent a lot of time on it, but it is good. It's again, it's one of those games that's kind of clunky.
I played it on console a little bit and I liked it, but it was the two things I'd say about it was it doesn't look great.
No.
And that actually can be to its detriment because it's like it should look a lot better than it does.
Yeah.
Because it's such a good game. And second, it's hard. Like with the zombies turned on, especially on your own, even on the lower difficulties, it's fucking hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, I only played it a while, but I don't know how much you've been playing it on PC and whether you've been playing it with other people as well.
Well, I have, because I joined a server with a couple of other guys from work. And one of them, he's got he's been playing it for a long time. He's got a huge base that's all fortified and everything. It's
perception's
amazing.
Warped.
Yeah. So he's got, this is the thing, like when you said about it being hard, like maybe, I feel safe on that server, but that's because half the time I'm in his base.
Yeah, if you play it from scratch on your own, just without anyone else, it's so tough. At the start of the game anyway.
Yeah, he said his base is, almost impenetrable. He has a drawbridge going into his...
Crazy.
Like fucking drawbridge. He's got double door things, so like almost like an airlock system, so he can just has an extra level of protection to keep zombies out. His whole base house, really, like a fortress, I suppose, is surrounded by spikes. He's got spinning blades. He's got landmines populated around there.
I remember the first time I played it, I ended up the first night in a tiny little shack that I boarded up myself on my own with no food and a broken leg.
Yeah,
I was just waiting for the sun to come up because if I'd have gone out there, I'd have been dead.
Yeah.
And it was just oh my God. And also you can't speed up time.
No.
And at night you can't really go out.
There's multiplayer, so yeah.
But you can't wait or on your own when you're playing on your own. And the point is, well, I remember reading about it. The point was that at night, initially, especially when you're not as well leveled up or well equipped, I think the idea was that not in the day you're supposed to go out, get supplies, get what you need, and get back to your base before dark. And then at night, where you just have to wait for the sun to come up, that's when you craft. And set up for the next day.
And night's when the zombies come out.
Yeah.
And then obviously,
they're out all the time, but they're way stronger at night.
Way stronger at night. And then also, of course, there's the whole the name itself ties into the idea that these have a 7-day cyclical period where at the end of those 7 days there's fucking big wave of zombies.
Yeah,
like a horde, that come down. But it's kind of it's got, again, and similar to Ark, it's got all these really sort of big ideas and big concepts and things that it's been using. It's made in Unity, 7 Days to Die. Ark is made in Unreal. Although, to be honest, it's neither here nor there, really. It doesn't make too much of a difference to how the game plays or anything like that.
Maybe how it looks.
Potentially, but again, I don't think Unreal potentially handles shaders better and things like that. But
I think there's more of a focus on graphical fidelity with Arc than there is with 7 Days to Die anyway. So
that's probably usually the case with Unreal built games as well. Yeah. But I think they both suffer from the same problem, is that in terms of graphically, they're trying to go for you can tell that they're going for a bar that's like punching above their weight slightly, almost, in a way. I don't mean to say that sounds a bit sort of demeaning to the developers. I don't really mean it like that, but I think if, at least for 7 Days to Die, maybe not for Arc, but at least for 7 Days to Die, I feel like they could have gone for a more stylized approach to the visuals that was more performant and just more readable, really.
Yeah.
Like a more readable environment, a more readable game in general. Because they're going for this very realistic style, and that's fine. But when you're trying to run all of that stuff, all the stuff they want to do, and these big high concepts, like I don't know whether it's. I mean, it's not been released yet, so
is it still
it's still, yeah.
It has on console, right? It's got a boxed release on console. 7 Days to Die. And
Arc. Really?
Yeah. I had it.
Oh no, Arc does.
It.
Yeah, Arc does. But I'm talking about 7 Days.
No, I have it. I have it. The actual physical copy on console, on PlayStation.
Oh, okay.
4.
I'm pretty sure it's in.
So I don't know whether it's classed as early access on PC but it's definitely. And I mean, to be honest, I think they released PUBG on console before the 1.0 for Xbox, didn't they? It was an Xbox early access game, whatever.
So they released one. Yeah, so they released them at the same time, I think. Because PUBG went 1.0 on PC at the same time they released it on Xbox One, I think. I think I'm right in saying that. I might be wrong.
Yeah, I don't think they're. I don't think it's still in classed as early access for console. Obviously, still early access on Steam though, by the looks of things. So
yeah,
weird.
Still early access on Steam.
It's weird that's. I mean, often the console versions don't have all the features straight away, so it might be that it's just an earlier version of the game. I don't know, or a cut down version. I'm not sure of the comparisons.
Potentially,
but it's definitely out. Like boxed, like you can buy the boxed version. On console,
yeah.
So.
I mean, maybe it's because consoles don't. It's not something you really get on consoles anyway. Early access a lot. Do you really as much?
No,
certainly not as much on PC.
No,
I don't think.
No, it's not really a thing.
But I mean, it's early days, so maybe there's a lot to improve on it. I would have. Arc, on the other hand, obviously, I think it does need. You want to have great looking realistic dinosaurs, and so it's obvious why they would go down that kind of real high graphical fidelity route of for making these sort of realistic lush looking environments. But for 7 Days to Die, if it were me, I would have probably gone down a more simpler route in terms of its visual style, still hopefully charming and appealing, but a simpler route, I think. What is interesting about 7 Days to Die as well is that you can pretty much destroy anything. It's completely destructible.
Yeah, and also you can turn, again, like you were saying about Arc, you can completely customize your server, so you can turn off the zombies. And actually it makes it quite an interesting survival game just to play, because there are threats like the weather, food, injury, all that sort of stuff. There's still threats to you without the zombies there. The zombies just make it even harder. So you can turn them off. And then it just becomes like an interesting survival, like a more realistic Minecraft.
Yeah,
kind of. I don't know.
I suppose. So the guy I know at work who has the huge fortress, he said that he managed to fend off the zombies by building it in a way where pretty much any type of zombie it'd be pretty much impenetrable to any type of zombie, because he said there are climbing zombies, but he put a lip at the top of the wall that sticks out, so they can't climb on walls, they can't climb on ceilings, so then they would still get stuck. But apparently they tunnel underground as well.
Fuck.
They tunnel underground, so
that.
Occasionally you had to fend them off from tunneling. And he put a lot of like big sort of like reinforcements and stuff in place, but they still managed to sort of get through. Right. So yeah, it's cool. I'm looking forward to getting my teeth into it more. Really, it reminded me of Wurm. I don't know whether you've ever played that. It's like an old, again, crafting. Not so much survival, but more crafting game. It's like a fantasy-based, realistic version of Minecraft, where again, like 7 Days to Die, all the terrain is completely destructible. So people get together and build villages and tunnel through hills. It takes forever, but it's one of those like real long, slow burners, but worth it to see people's amazing creations. It's old now and it's super clunky. And
I've never heard of it.
Yeah. People set up sort of guilds and alliances and things like that.
Presumably people still play it.
But I think people do still play it, but not a lot, and that's obviously always the problem in those types of games, right? Like we played it. I play with a sort of Tuesday night group, and we played it. When was it? Maybe a year or so ago, and it was pretty bad. Yeah, I mean, it was great. It's great as a again, like as a high concept, as an open world experience where you're allowed to do whatever you want. You're allowed to destroy any terrain you want. You can build pretty much anything you want. It's got these mechanics in like for survival, like food and water and heat and then also weapons and enemies and everything you want in an open world game. It's a bit like the sort of the Star Citizen, right? Of sort of like going down that route, right? Like we had these conversations before, but as with all of those games, the problem is that the execution is more often than not far from perfect. So, which is a shame.
Yeah.
Let's see. Anyway, yeah, we should move on to what you've been playing.
Oh, you don't have any?
Well, not really. I mean, I've been doing a lot more sort of streaming now. Actually, getting into streaming, so that's been interesting. I've been playing Paladins, which is the sort of free Overwatch clone, essentially. But like I pretty much play that every week now. We may move on to a different game on Tuesday nights, like Destiny 2 or Diablo, because we need like a co-op game that supports 4 to 5 players. Really, in a similar vein, and we played Vermintide a lot as well. But yeah, really not too much more, to be honest. There's a few games on my radar at the moment that I need to play, like which is probably the stuff you're about to talk about.
Oh yes, and of course, Hitman 2 is upon us.
Yes,
the Gold Edition is accessible now. I think if you've got the Gold Edition, you can play it today, and then comes out full release in about 4 days or something, 5 days. Yes. And I've been trying to convince you to buy it all day because you clearly want it. Like,
yeah, I just bought tickets to Rammstein.
Yeah, it's like crazy.
My girlfriend's a metalhead, so that pretty much makes me a metalhead.
Even so, so I was looking at. I mean, its review embargo lifted today, and it's getting some great reviews, and I'm obviously going to play it. It looks great, but I didn't realise. The Hitman 1 stuff.
Yes.
That you get if you've got Hitman 1,
the original Hitman 1.
So I didn't realise this, but all of the new there's not tons. From what I understand, there's not tons of new mechanics and new abilities and new weapons, but there are new mechanics and new abilities, and there's new like UI updates, like when somebody finds a body or it comes up in the corner of the screen now as like a little camera.
Yes, it's the picture-in-picture stuff. That's the new thing. Yeah.
So all of that stuff is brought over to the Hitman 1 missions.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, that's
you can
cool.
play them again, but with the new mechanics,
I wonder if they're bringing in new... Because they always have challenges, right, in the first one.
I think they're bringing in new challenges
assassinations,
as well.
Right, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's just great that it's such a flexible system. The level design, I think, is superb.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about
I should say mission design rather than level design, but still level design because you need the architecture, the space to make all this.
I think that the criticisms I've heard, the only criticisms I've heard really are One, that it feels more like an expansion for the first one.
Yes.
Because it's more of the same.
Yeah.
And also, even the fact that Hitman 1 and 2 are on a menu together, and Hitman 1 isn't, as in Hitman 2016, is on the menu even if you don't own it, but it's blacked out, so it almost, or grayed out. So it almost feels like, I mean, obviously that's an incentive to make you buy it. But But like it almost feels like an expansion a bit more because they're so similar. And the other criticism I've heard is to do with the narrative, and in the sense that I heard that the story is a little silly, but I don't know. I mean, to me, Hitman's stories are always a bit silly.
Well, yeah.
And also the like the cutscenes are like still images with narration.
Well, I mean, they're... oh, really?
Yeah. They're like animatics, so they're like basically still images or slightly animated images.
They good though?
I mean, yeah. And so people have complained about that, but also that it. So the story's not great. The animatics. What was the other thing? Generally, it's getting great. It's got like 8.5s and 9s, right? Yeah. So I think it's going to be fucking awesome.
Well, for one thing, I think the fact that it feels like a criticism that it feels like an expansion is I pretty much expected that. Because, I mean, Hitman 2016 was episodic.
Oh,
and Hitman 2... Sorry.
That reminds me, the other criticism was that it was clearly designed as an episodic game and then made to be not.
Oh, God.
So, sorry. Yeah. I don't agree with these criticisms. I haven't played it, I don't know. But I'm just relaying what I've heard.
Never happy. I mean, fucking hell, the critics of it, or certain critics of it, I don't know whether you mean professional or just...
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about like professional reviews or
YouTube
reviews or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I mean,
site reviews.
People complain about the episodic, and now people are complaining that
it's not
feels like an episodic, but it's not.
Yeah.
Jesus, like, I don't care about any of that stuff. I actually quite like the episodic nature of it because
it suits Hitman, right?
It does suit Hitman. It also meant that the developers could take feedback in between the episodes before the sort of 2 to 3 months and do some polish or some work on the next episodes before they released it and do some tweaks to it, which was kind of cool, right? I mean, you didn't get access to all of the episodes at once, but I spent 8 hours on Paris.
That's the first one, right?
The first one.
That's the one with the fashion
episode.
show.
Yeah, the fashion show. I spent 8 hours in it.
Man, I spent a few hours just on the tutorial.
It's ridiculous. I mean, I expected it to be like an expansion. But also, that's fine because the first one was good.
Yeah, it was,
so if it's more of the same, that's fine by me. You know?
There's certain people have said the AI can be a little wonky, but that's again the same in the first one.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think. I mean, again, it's gone from like we had that conversation about Codename 47. I think it was last week, the week before.
Yeah, last week. Yeah,
it's gone. That franchise has gone from strength to strength.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. I mean, I haven't finished Hitman 2016.
With the exception of Absolution, of course, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Absolution's a terrible game.
No, I don't think
it's just not a very good Hitman game.
Yeah.
So, maybe we'll have a sit-down podcast just on Hitman one day. We could talk about Hitman forever. But, I never finished... I finished all of them, but I never finished 2016. So...
That's good.
I need to go back and finish that before I buy Hitman 2. Yeah. But you, on the other hand, should buy Hitman 2.
I have finished Hitman 1 as well.
Yes, and played it to death. You should buy Hitman 2. Everyone's going to be everyone listening to this is going to be expecting you to have bought it and played it by next week.
All of our listeners.
Yeah, all of it. Everyone who ever hears this
happens to be, if they are also a Hitman fan.
Yes. No, they're going to expect it of you anyway. You're going to disappoint everybody if you don't buy it by next week.
Well, that's me out of pocket then.
Yeah. I might buy it, and I haven't even finished the first one.
Jesus. Well, now you can play it using Hitman 2, right? You can play...
I could play it with the new mechanics.
Yeah. I think that's cool. Anyway, I'm looking forward to it anyway. I was something I was going to say about it, and now I've completely forgotten what it was, but whatever.
Great.
Carry on.
Anyway, what have I been playing? That was the question, wasn't it? Way back, before this tangent. This Hitman tangent. So last week, I think I kind of signed off what I've been playing, or one of our discussions with. Yeah, I might try Undertale out. Do you remember this? Like we were talking about Undertale last week, and it was like, I might give it a go. So I think we recorded on Thursday. last week.
Yes, we're getting regular now.
Yeah, so we recorded on Thursday, and on Saturday morning, I'd platinumed Undertale and got the 100% pacifist ending with the extra epilogue and beaten every optional boss and done every bit of optional content.
Jesus fucking Christ.
So we spoke on Thursday evening, and we recorded on Thursday evening, and I didn't play it Thursday at all. So I started it on Friday evening, and I platinumed it and 100%ed it by Saturday morning.
Which took you, what was it, 8 hours?
10 hours, I think, for everything, I would say.
That's good.
If you're doing... It's weird. It's a weird game because depending on the choices you make, the game can be, longer or shorter. And if you do the true pacifist run, which is what I did, I didn't kill anything in the whole game, which means that you get an epilogue, which is another hour or two on the end. So it just depends on how you play it. But and then on Saturday afternoon, I also beat Deltarune, which is the
expansion,
the sequel demo thing that we spoke about last week.
Which takes how long?
2 hours, 3 hours, 3 hours. I think it took me because I did everything.
Yep.
So I liked Undertale.
So I'm guessing, because I think we did briefly speak about this the other day, is that can you confirm that it does take about 2 hours before you get into it properly, and then it is really, really, really good after that?
Yeah, I've gone from being one of the categories of people of Undertale, which is I've played it for less than an hour and a half to 2 hours and I couldn't get into it, to I've played it for over an hour and a half to 2 hours and now it's fantastic and I love it. So yeah, it does. The one thing it struggles from is it doesn't have the best start. The ruins, the area you start in, it's not the best looking area in the game. It's got a weird art style. It's like pink, and it kind of starts slow, and you're like, "What is this?" And what is it? Like a JRPG? Is that what they're going for? Is it like a bullet hell?
That's what I thought it was.
What the fuck? And you meet one or two characters, but they're really interesting characters, and the game's really about characters. It's about like the writing and its themes and things like that, and how they play into the mechanics cleverly. But none of that's really on display in the first hour, or if it is, it's hidden. So you're doing things and you don't really understand whether they're relevant or not. So, for example, I deleted my save to start the pacifist run, but I found out that if you kill an enemy in the game and then you quit out and you reset your save, you're like, no, I'm going to reset my save file. When you don't kill that enemy and pacifist, the game will say things like, I know what you did. I know you've tried to erase it, but I know what you've done. And so you're like, oh fuck, and that plays into how the game turns out. So like you would have to do what I did, which was completely erase your save, because the last time I played it I was killing stuff because I didn't really understand.
Okay. Yeah.
But a friend of mine who's a fan of Undertale said to me, go for a pacifist run first because it's the most interesting way to play and it's the way you see the most of the game. So I did. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was, obviously, you can tell by how quickly I platinumed it.
Yeah, Jesus.
And how quickly I just wouldn't stop playing it. I mean, it's a weird one. It's a weird platinum because you get the platinum a good 4 hours, 3 hours or so, 2 or 3 hours before you actually beat the game. You can get the platinum trophy. Okay. So I carried on way beyond that, obviously. And then the epilogue.
Before you beat the game?
Yeah. Apparently the designer, it's basically made by one guy and one artist.
Yeah,
Toby
Fox, yeah.
Apparently he doesn't really care much for trophies, so the trophies are they're quite satirical. And quite relatively easy to get. They're just time consuming. But yeah, I really liked Undertale. It's really well written. It's got some really interesting mechanics. It's a really good indie game. I would recommend it on any format. It's out on everything.
Yeah.
I'd recommend it on any format. It's great. And also Deltarune, which is free. Definitely download that if you like Undertale because it's great. But I would implore you to get past the first 2 hours.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll stream it.
Basically, get through the ruins to the second area.
Yeah.
The second proper area. You'll know when you get there.
Yeah.
And it's great. Yeah, it's really good.
Shit.
And so, yes, Undertale. I don't want to say too much more because I don't want to ruin it.
No, don't.
I don't want to tell you what it's about or anything because it's like... it's all about the themes and what it's about and the characters and stuff and the lore and how it's sort of interwoven into the dialogue and hilarious mechanics and stuff. So yeah, I would recommend Undertale to anyone, but it has got a slow start. The first hour and a half to 2 hours, maybe hour and a half, are slow. It's not the worst game ever, but it's slow. It's not the worst start ever, I should say, but it is slow. So yeah, I beat that and Deltarune, and then I bought a game called The Return of the Obra Dinn.
Yes.
Which is getting some traction at the moment in a kind of underground indie way. It's by the guy who did, again, it's mainly made by one developer pretty much in Unity. And he's the guy who did Papers, Please, which is a game I haven't played. But
have you not?
No.
Oh,
no,
man.
I haven't played Papers, Please.
Yeah, it's good.
But I was interested in Obra Dinn by its premise and by its art style. It's got a really, really unique art style. And its premise is kind of interesting. It's kind of a mystery. Kind of harkens back to kind of like Myst or that kind of type of game. And honestly, it's superb. It's superbly made. It's superbly written and put together. It's just insanely, like, how you would design something like that, I don't know. How you came up with that idea and the way it plays together is just amazing. So the opening premise is that it's first person, but it's got, like I say, it's got this really bizarre sort of black and white pixelated art style.
Yeah. It's got a sort of like the dithered style that you got in like dithered shadows from the old sort of Commodore days, Spectrum days, when they had like you have like 4 colors to play with.
In fact, in the graphical settings, you can change whether you want it to be. The graphical settings are really interesting because it doesn't really have many, but the only setting it really has is you can change it from like Commodore 64 to like LCD to like IBM, and it just changes the tone of the color basically.
Yeah,
so it's black and white or black and green.
Yeah, I think it changes one or two of the 4 colors to something else.
Yeah,
right? Like
it's really close. It's really interesting. But yeah, so the premise is that there's a boat called the Obra Dinn, which was in 1802 was transporting goods and was lost at sea. And then in 1807, 5 years later, it floats into port in, I want to say Falmouth?
Yeah, I think it was Falmouth.
Yeah, in Falmouth. And there's no one left on board or no one left alive on board. And you play a guy who's tasked by the insurance company to figure out.
A girl, in fact, isn't it?
I don't know. It's not. No, it's a guy.
I could have sworn it was a woman's voice when I.
No, it's definitely a man's voice when I played it, but whether that changes or not, I don't know.
That's weird because I definitely heard I'm pretty sure I heard a woman's voice. Maybe it changes.
I mean, it's difficult because you don't hear your character's voice very often. You basically hear it at the start, and that's it. But I remember it being a guy. But anyway, you are a person, and you're tasked with figuring out what's happened, and you do it via a very interesting mechanics where you can kind of like, I don't really want to say too much. Do you know what I mean? Like, because you played
it's like logical deduction.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So,
but I don't want to go too deep into the mechanics because
sort of progressively logical deduction.
And it's clever because you'll find the mysteries completely out of sync, but the whole thing is framed in a book whereby when you filled the whole book in, you can read it through and understand completely what's happened.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's great. I would definitely also recommend it.
So because you showed it to me the other day, it reminded me a little bit of sort of a kind of weird cross between Tacoma and Her Story, like that sort of that idea that like Tacoma, especially with this idea of you kind of like almost like a investigator on an abandoned ship, right? Station.
It's just sort of ghosts
and kind of the ghosts of the past and like picking up the pieces and the evidence, and also kind of like her story in the way you've got to kind of arrange these pieces into like a ledger or a bit of UI, basically a book that allows you to put those pictures together and make your own conclusions about what happened there. But it looked really cool.
I mean, I didn't stop. It took me like 6 to 7 hours to beat, and I 100%ed it. I think there's a couple of Steam achievements that I don't have for it because they're for basically leaving the boat before you've solved the mystery and something else. I don't know, but
I think it's probably good to point out that it's 3D as well.
Oh yeah, it's first person
3D.
Yeah,
even though it just has a really nice sort of like really simple like wireframe shader almost. But it's not 2D, despite the fact that it only uses like what looks like a 4-color palette like that.
Well, I would suggest maybe looking at some videos of it.
Yeah,
but not with audio necessarily, just so you don't get anything spoiled for you, but just to look at how it looks, how it runs.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's only available on PC at the moment as well. I don't know whether there's any plan. Probably, I don't know. His last game didn't come to console or anything, but it took me about 7 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours, and I learnt the fate of everyone on board and how they were related to what their job was.
You don't need to do that to solve the mystery, then?
Not to beat the game, no, not to beat it. But if you do, I think if you do solve it all, you might get an extra little bit on the end. If you know what I mean, like I think there's some payoff for it, but it's difficult for me to tell because I made sure I did everything before I left the boat. So, and it's great. It's fucking awesome. Definitely recommend that.
It actually sounds. I mean, even though I sort of spent a short amount of time with it, I think after the sort of that initial just getting to know those mechanics, it did seem quite engaging. Actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's got the mystery.
I wanted to know more. I think. Yeah. I wanted to piece it together. Right.
It's got the mystery elements, and you start to realize that there's more than one mystery.
Right. Yeah.
Because you start to realize that they've been at sea for a while, and you're covering quite a large amount of time, and lots of things have happened, and you need to solve these mini mysteries and how people connect to each other, and there might be like, for example, I found somebody there's one character who is murdered by another shipmate. There's no spoilers because this isn't but like you can't figure out the motivation for that murder till way later on in the game. In fact, you find out about that murder quite early on in the game, and it's like at the end of the narrative book, but you kind of journey backwards through the story because you're kind of investigating it.
Yeah.
And the motivations for that murder don't become completely clear, and who's done it and why, until like pretty much near the end of the game.
Okay.
So there's a lot of that going on. There's a lot of these mini mysteries, like why has that person done that? Okay, I can see what's happened. Who's done it? Why? Oh, I've seen that guy before. Where did I see him? Oh, yeah.
So what if the end goal is not to learn everything about the ship? What is the end goal? Just to learn the fate of the ship?
So yeah, it's actually it works out as a monetary value for insurance claim. So and to deem whether it was accidental, or whether it was someone's fault or
okay, interesting.
But yeah, like I said, there's more than that going on. There's all kinds of things going on. It goes into crazy places that you don't expect.
Okay, I see. And so you probably get to a certain point in the. I mean that win condition is not based on a percentage of the mystery has been, so the full mystery has been solved, right? It must be surely based on. Carry on. Yeah.
So you get this book at the beginning of the game, which is the framing reference, like you said, like the UI framing reference, and this book is broken up into chapters, and every chapter tells you a little bit more, and you know the chapter titles right from the start, so you know fundamental things that are going to happen right from the start of the game, and the amount of mysteries you solve fill out that book more and more, and then when you learn the fate of 3 members of the crew, as long as you're correct, so their name, how they died, who killed them, or what killed them, or how they died, that sort of stuff. Every 3, if you're correct, it'll be like, well done, you're correct. And then that information will be printed in the book.
Okay.
So it'll be kind of tacked into the book first, and then it'll get printed. You have to have gained some information for every single chapter of the book. And then you can leave the boat and go back, or you can stay on the boat and before leaving
explore the rest of it. So there's a kind of like, at least there's one continuous thread throughout the story,
it's all,
right? Okay.
So you can you have to kind of have discerned, and what that does is it allows you to discern the rough idea of what's happened without all of the, getting into the minutiae of every single little bit.
That's cool.
But I had notepads. I was doing sketches. I was all over the place.
You mean in-game?
No, as in...
Like you would...
I had a notepad next to me, and I was like making scrawled notes.
That's interesting.
I
always think when that happens in-game, if that happens for game, I know that it's kind of cool to do that, but I always think there should be some kind of facility in-game to do that rather than...
To be honest...
Rather than having it.
Excuse me. To be honest, that was all me. I could have easily done the game without it.
Right, okay.
I was just getting so deep into the idea of being this Victorian detective insurance, but I didn't need it in the end. It was like a fun exercise.
Okay.
It wasn't like a fucking Broken Sword 4 where I was basically writing on the walls by the time I'd figured that game out.
See, that's why, I think those games like that, they really need to, if they have any kind of system where the player feels the need to externally record data about it, then there should be a facility for that in game.
Really? I actually really like it.
I think it's cool where it's kind of like, you're blurring the lines between reality and fiction. But so, for example, in the original Elite, like the 1984 Elite or an Elite Plus, or actually in Frontier Elite 2 and First Encounters, there wasn't really a decent way of recording market information from the stations.
Right,
so you'd want to know how much profit and loss you were making, but you didn't want to kind of try and remember how much something costs back in such and such a station, right? So you would just sometimes just write that stuff down.
See, I love that shit. Yeah. I know what you mean when you say it should be facilitated in game, but I don't mind that it's not. I actually like that it's not, and sometimes I find myself making notes when I don't need to, which is basically what happened with Obra Dinn. So I love making notes so much, and having a notepad and writing down, when I've got collectibles, I love writing them all out. Silly shit, when I platinumed Final Fantasy 13, you have to have had every weapon and accessory in the game, including all the crafted evolved forms. I wrote them all out by hand. It's just unnecessary. But I did because I wanted to.
I think there's a halfway point in terms of not necessarily just having that information to hand, flip it up on a screen or something like that in Elite, for example, or what was the last market data, but the ability to write a note in game, for example, right? You know what I mean?
Back of the manual.
That kind of thing, right? It's sort of like a notepad.exe, right? Like a notepad editor, you can keep some quick notes on something in game though. But I know it is cool though.
Yeah. Again, I didn't really need it for Obra Dinn, but I 100%ed Undertale, 100%ed Obra Dinn, and then it was one of those things where, when you play a couple of games back to back that are great and just what you're looking for, and then you feel like you've fallen off a cliff because you've got this back catalogue and you're like, I don't know what to play, what's jumping out at me, and you kind of try a few things and you're like, I kind of found myself in that position. I have been consistently playing Red Dead.
Oh, okay.
As well, but the thing about Red Dead is, I love playing. Normally, as you can probably tell, I love playing games binging games, if you know what I mean. I play games and I seem to have finished games very quickly, but it actually is just because I play games for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours at a time.
Yeah.
So when I sit down to play, I play for long stints. But I actually really like Red Dead in smaller stints. I like Red Dead in 2 hours, hour, 2 hours. Yeah. So it's going to be a long time, I think, before I get... And maybe that, my playtime will increase as I get more and more into it.
Mm-hmm.
But, because of the amount of riding around and the amount of preparation and the amount of, crafting and hunt, how much effort it takes and how long the missions are and how intricate and the dialogue and stuff and how emergent things can happen, I like to really absorb myself in it, but you can't do that for 8 hours without kind of feeling fatigue.
Yeah.
Because, you'll be like, I've got to ride across the map. There's no fast travel. So But that's not criticism. I have been consistently playing Red Dead, and I love it. I like it more now than the last time we spoke.
Yeah. I was saying. I mean, recently it's been growing on me as well a lot. I haven't played actually a lot more of it since last week, partly because I've been preparing for this charity stream. We were doing all of that stuff. I'd done a bunch of other things this week, but yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think I liked it a little more than yourself. I think our initial impressions were I was enjoying it a little more than yourself.
Yeah,
initially,
probably.
but not by much.
Probably, yeah. I think so.
But it's only grown on me so far. So I really like it. So yeah, I've been playing that. And then I actually... two other things I've been playing. So I went back to Vampire after our discussion last week, and because I never finished it, and I'm thoroughly enjoying that. I really like that game. It's one of those. It reminds me of like a mid-tier game that like speaks to you directly. You know, when you find a game that's like, I know it's not the best made game. You can see there's problems with it, and you can kind of understand when people criticize about it. You can understand people's criticisms, and you think, okay, yeah, I get what you're saying. But it's just everything I like about games is in there. Like, it's really well voice acted for the most part. It's really well written. It's really atmospheric. It's got some interesting ideas, and it's got like AAA. Well, more like it's like very, very high concept, like AAA concept with a AA budget. Do you know what I mean? I really like that. I always think that's really...
I might have heard similar criticisms about it.
Like, I find it really commendable when it's like, no, like, these are our ideas and we're going to do them to the best of our ability. And you know what? They pulled it off. Like, the criticisms, like, the combat's a bit wonky, you know, and there are some bugs. It's not very stable on PS4. It crashed 4 times on me the other night.
Fucking hell.
And I was
PS4.
I was panicking that my PS4 Pro was fucked, and then I looked it up, and apparently it's just because it didn't crash. It hasn't crashed on anything else for PlayStation, but it's because apparently it's just not that stable.
Wow!
Waiting for a patch. Should have got it on PC.
Just weird thing to say.
So yeah, I've been playing that, and I'm really enjoying it. And also, I've been playing Destiny 2 on PC, which is a game I put a lot of. I say a lot. It wasn't a lot of time into it. I beat the campaign on the PS4, but I couldn't really get into the end game. And then I got kind of a bit... I never liked it enough to spend the money on the initial season pass. And then now Forsaken's come out, and that's more money. And now there's an annual pass that covers you after Forsaken.
Oh, God.
So I'm like, I don't know. But... the performance increase on PC has made it a different game. And I don't say that often. You know, I'm a PlayStation gamer primarily, but man, it plays so much better on a decent PC. It's insane. There's no loading times. It runs at an amazing, smooth frame rate. It looks amazing. It's just incredible on PC compared.
I'm going to have to play it again. There was talk of a sort of gaming group that I do Tuesday nights with, kind of playing that. So,
I mean,
potentially, I don't know. I'll have to. I don't know whether it's going to be my kind of game, really. Even though I like MMOs, but not all of them, and
it's a perfect,
not all the time.
It's a perfect storm. I think I'm in the mood for that, for a game like that right now. I think that it looks and plays so much better than I remember because it's. And also, even if you don't own Forsaken, which I don't at the moment, they've put some quality of life improvements in since launch with patches and stuff that I've kind of just naturally picked up on from playing it again. So I'm enjoying it enough. It's kind of a nice pick up and play. So I'm also... God, how many games am I playing at once? I'm also playing Diablo 3 again on Switch.
Man.
Because I platinumed it on PlayStation and I played it on PC as well, but I like having it on Switch portable, so I'm playing that on Switch. But it's a similar deal with Destiny. It's like I don't really have to pay attention to the story because I've already beaten it, but 2, apparently the story doesn't get really intricate and stuff until Forsaken, which is what I'm kind of interested in. But like, it's kind of just fun to grind at and and play with friends sometimes and stuff like that. So.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been playing.
Good.
Yeah.
It's a good amount of stuff.
Too much.
Too much. Yeah.
Too much.
Yeah. Maybe I'll try and get stuck into Undertale. And, well, Hitman 2 as well.
You better get into Hitman 2. You better buy it. I'll be so upset. So, I guess we should look at the news.
Yeah.
Some interesting news this week, actually. Yeah. Okay. Where do we start? I guess we should start with BlizzCon, right?
I suppose.
Because I was just talking about Diablo.
Yes. Why not?
See what I did there?
Yeah.
So, BlizzCon this week. 2 bits of news, really, about BlizzCon, I think. The first is that Warcraft 3 Reforged was announced.
Yes.
And fans were happy about this.
Yes. I was very happy about it.
Now, I never beat Warcraft 3. I had it, but then my PC died, and I never got back into it years ago. But my assumption is that you're a big Warcraft 3 guy.
Yes.
So please enlighten us on Warcraft 3 and what this news means to you.
Well, partly because there hasn't been a RTS. I mean, I know it's not a sequel, but there hasn't been an RTS in the Warcraft universe since Warcraft 3, right? I think everybody wanted Warcraft 4. Warcraft 4 would have been great. Like, that would have been amazing. But Warcraft 3 Reforged is good enough for me.
They're probably testing the waters.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it does come on the heels of, like, the StarCraft remastered, right?
Yep.
So, you know, they did remastering games. That's kind of cool. Yeah, and like Warcraft 3 for me was the reason I got into World of Warcraft, and then, you know, kind of rest history anyway. And I just love. I'm a big fan of Warcraft because I just love the charm and the style with the Warcraft universe. And having that updated is pretty fucking cool.
I haven't looked into much about how much. Like, I haven't looked into how much better it looks and how all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, they released some screenshots.
I just haven't seen them. But I know that they're putting in tie-ins lore-wise to World of Warcraft. They're repurposing
you know,
some of the lore.
I don't know whether you know, but Warcraft 3 is all about is the ascent of the Lich King, right? So it's all Arthas.
Right. Yeah.
So it's all how Arthas was corrupted. So World of Warcraft riffs off Warcraft 3.
Yeah,
right?
so they're tying them even more together, I understand.
Yeah, potentially, because there's a lot of other stuff since World of Warcraft came out. But crucially, probably more things like, and probably more, I mean, excited about the graphical updates as well, but also just all of the modern stuff that comes with modern games these days, which Warcraft 3 kind of had in, but maybe wasn't as well implemented or wasn't as well as widely used, like just big multiplayer support, right? Multiplayer in Warcraft 3, because StarCraft was a behemoth in sort of multiplayer RTS gaming, right? Especially in Korea, which we talked about in the first episode as well. And StarCraft 2 is obviously huge in terms of like multiplayer RTS. But Warcraft 3 came before StarCraft 2, and it did have a multiplayer scene. And I remember being at university and watching a guy playing Warcraft 3. He was the one guy I knew who played Warcraft 3 multiplayer. And I was kind of interested, and he was like, oh yeah, it's really cool. He said you should play Night Elves. They're hard to play, but once you get to master them, like, they're really good. And it just looked really fun to play competitive multiplayer. But I never got. I don't feel like. Well, I know Warcraft 3 wasn't nearly as well established as a multiplayer RTS as StarCraft was, and I feel like it has a chance now more to be more of a more established multiplayer game. I don't know I don't think that's going to take away from the StarCraft multiplayer crowd at all, because, you know, it's still a remaster. You know, there's not going to be the same multiplayer focused mechanics that they're going to add in there, so it's still going to be pretty much the same mechanics they have. But also, I'm looking forward to just all of the better integration, you know, support for high resolutions.
Presumably, it will reinvigorate some interest in multiplayer from the fans as well. So you'll be able to play multiplayer again. And also, my assumption is it comes with the DLC, the expansion as
Frozen
well.
Throne, I imagine so.
That would be really shit if it didn't.
It'd be silly, really. But
do you know when it's out? I've not done enough research on this.
No, I don't.
I don't even know if they
when
announced
it's out, no. On that note, though, Warcraft Classic has had its first previews. There's something in PC Gamer about it. Recently.
Yeah. I think there's a beta or something going on.
Yeah, PC Gamer were talking about how, it's basically not really that fun to go around killing sort of 15 boars in a quest. But Warcraft Classic is still fun.
Rose-tinted glasses.
There's something about it that is still really fun, so I'm really curious.
Rose-tinted glasses. I wonder how many people will like it.
Yeah, but you say that, but the previews did sound like the people were having a lot of fun with it still.
That'd be good.
I'm interested.
That'd be good. I mean, I don't speak from experience because I didn't play World of Warcraft ever. I played it a little, but way after launch. By Cataclysm time is when I started playing it. So
yeah,
everything had changed.
But yeah, it's super cool. I'm much more excited for the remaster of Warcraft than I was for StarCraft, which almost passed me by, to be honest.
Did you play Warcraft 1 and 2?
I played, yes, but the first one I played was actually 2, I think, maybe. Because 2 was hot on the heels of Command & Conquer 1. And Command & Conquer 1 obviously set the stage for all of the RTSs.
Did you beat? I take it you've beaten Warcraft 3 and
I've beaten Warcraft 3. I've beaten Warcraft 2 as well. Actually, years ago though.
Yeah.
And then I've played some Warcraft 1, but I don't think I ever beat it because, to be honest, Warcraft 1 is really it's really rough around the edges.
It's
pretty clunky. It's like Dune 2 is where it's at when it comes to that more of that era. Actually, Warcraft 1. Doesn't look that great for the time because I keep forgetting that I think Warcraft 1 was like 94, whereas Dune 2 was 92 maybe, I think. 91, 92 maybe.
It was a strange move to make a MMO out of that universe and then not do any RTS.
But I think, like we were saying in previous episodes, that's Blizzard, right? In a way, like they made Overwatch not, making it. I mean, sure, it was a new IP, right? But I think crucially it was from the success of EverQuest that they made World of Warcraft.
Yeah, I think it's an amazing game that is undisputably king of the MMOs and will always be, even if it was to drop off tomorrow. No one's going to replicate that.
Yeah.
But I just mean that they just left RTS behind with that franchise.
Yes,
with that franchise, with Warcraft.
with that IP.
I don't mean
Warcraft,
with obviously there was StarCraft and everything else. Yeah, but I just mean with Warcraft.
Yeah,
it would be like turning Diablo into a first-person melee game. And then never making another Diablo that was isometric dungeon crawler again.
Yes,
like it would be a weird choice to us. Right?
Yes, that's good. It's a good point actually. And I wonder what they're going to do with the rest of the Warcraft, the IP in terms of RTS games. Whether there will be a Warcraft 4 on the horizon. Like, I hope so. I wonder where it would fit in really in terms of what players want out of it. StarCraft 2 is an obvious choice because of the multiplayer aspect of it. It was always about the multiplayer, the huge multiplayer aspect of it.
I was always surprised they haven't done a StarCraft 3. I know that if you add together the two expansions, they basically are StarCraft 3.
I think that'd be problematic in the same way that they wouldn't make a World of Warcraft 2 because more so for StarCraft 2 because you have a big multiplayer crowd for StarCraft 2. And as soon as you make a sequel, it's like, well, what do we do now? Do we move to the next one?
Yeah.
Do we have to learn a bunch of new mechanics? I mean, it's difficult enough, I imagine, with the expansions, right, for the top level pro players.
Well, I mean, even on a pragmatic level as well, because your PC might not run StarCraft 3.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. I mean, Blizzard have always been good for performance. They've always been really, really scalable in their games with system settings for performance. They've always run really well, but yeah, that could also be a problem. I think mostly from a practical point of view, in terms of multiplayer, I think StarCraft 3 would be a bit of a funny one. So I can see why I think that's why really they probably why they released it in an almost episodic form for the campaign, because it was Terran campaign first, right? And then it was Queen of Blades, Kerrigan.
For the
Heart of the Swarm, wasn't it?
Yeah, for the expansions. I mean, obviously, you have a pretty robust single-player campaign before that, shipped with the game.
Yeah.
And then, they did one...
But spreading it out using the same system.
Scourge campaign? Is that what they're called?
The Heart of the Swarm was the
what are they called?
The God, what is wrong with my brain?
Because it's Protoss, right? Is the
Zerg? Jesus,
Zerg,
right? Zerg.
Thank you.
Oh my God,
Protoss. There was one Protoss.
Terran, Zerg, and Protoss.
And one. Yeah. Fuck. Anyway.
But yeah, so I am actually really super excited for Warcraft 3.
So I mean,
Reforged, because
I'll buy it.
Just graphically as well, the graphical upgrade on Warcraft 3. I'm excited by that because I think there's plenty of there's nothing. It's not like June 2 when June 2 was released. There were a lot of obvious mechanics in there that needed to be fixed or not say fixed, but needed to be improved upon, which Command and Conquer did really well. So, for example, not being able to drag select RTS units, right? You couldn't do that. Individually click on them. Not having that classic sort of right click auto move or attack. You had to press the button for attack or use a shortcut key, of which there were a few for June 2, but it wasn't really particularly well established.
Yeah.
So, but with Warcraft 3, all of that RTS kind of stuff had already been kind of well established. So the classic sort of tropes, I should say, or controlled tropes of RTSs had already been well established, I think. So I think it's fine mechanically. I don't think there's anything particularly to be improved on in Warcraft 3.
I mean, I'm kind of glad that I never beat it because I played it for a time, but I never beat it, as I said, and I'm kind of glad because I'm going to come to it fresh now.
Yeah, it'd be good.
And I like a good RTS, single-player RTS.
And if you ever played Wrath of the Lich King, right? World of Warcraft.
Yeah, I did.
So it's all of that.
And I'm all about the lore,
story,
right?
Yeah,
I'm always all about the lore, and it seems to set the stage for the lore quite well.
Yeah, it does. Yes, the whole thing is basically that. There's also the whole story of Sylvanas Windrunner and how she became sort of the queen of the underworld, Undercity, and all that stuff. So,
although I was tempted to look at World of Warcraft again the other day because it's got a fucking demon hunter class in it now.
Yeah, well, that was in Legion, the previous expansion.
I've lost touch, so I don't know.
I'm particularly excited. The crowd seemed really pleased by that as well. When I saw I just caught it live as it was playing as well. I was like, wow.
Yeah, the crowd seemed pretty pleased about that. Unlike our next news story from BlizzCon, which is nothing short of a shit show. So Blizzard also revealed a new Diablo game.
Yeah.
On mobile only. Mobile only. Clarified no chance of or no plans to bring it to PC.
Yeah.
Diablo game called Diablo Immortal.
Uh-huh.
Now then, this was met by boos and sarcastic comments and an outcry of, outrage, for want of a better word, from fans, which has actually caused Blizzard's stock to fall by like 4%, which is nothing for Blizzard Activision, but still, it's all snowballing, right? Now, this is an interesting piece of news because on the one hand, right, like Diablo fans are real loyal fans, like they love Diablo, right? And I love Diablo, but I'm not nowhere near the level, right? If you tease a new Diablo game all the way up to BlizzCon, and then on main stage...
I didn't realise it teased it, actually.
Yeah, and apparently so. And then on main stage on BlizzCon, you reveal it to be a mobile-only game, and then when your fans are upset, they said something like, well, you've all got phones, haven't you?
Is that what they said?
Yeah, because somebody said, is it coming to PC? And they were like, no, there's no plans to bring it to PC. And there was an audible, like, oh, from the crowd, like, oh, boo. And the producers, or one of the people involved, said, you've all got phones, haven't you? It's like, that's not great PR from, like, do you know, that's the PR nightmare for your average. Flip side of that coin, it's just that Diablo 4 will come. Diablo 3 is far too profitable.
Yeah.
There's already rumours that Diablo 4 is in development. There's already rumours that they were going to show a tease for Diablo 4 that was pulled because of the reaction to Diablo Immortal.
Oh, really?
Kotaku reported that was going to happen, but Blizzard are denying this.
Okay, that's a bit weird. But
so there was some rumour that they were going to be like, and play this while you wait for what's this, Diablo 4. But like Blizzard are denying this. But yeah, there's some pretty substantial evidence from people like Jason Schreier, who's an amazing reporter over at Kotaku and stuff like that, that apparently, they were planning on it, and because of the bad outcry against, which if that's true is hilarious, because that would be Diablo fans literally shooting themselves in the foot. But I understand, like, that was not the way to reveal a mobile Diablo game.
Well,
like, look at the Elder Scrolls Blades.
Yeah.
If you'd have been teasing a new Elder Scrolls project all the way up to E3, and then they came out and were like, we know you love Elder Scrolls, well, guess what? Like, main announcement, main stage.
Yeah.
Like, not after Rage 2 and everything else they'd already announced. No, main stage. Here's your new Elder Scrolls game, and it's mobile only. Like, you would have had a similar reaction.
Well,
a potentially similar reaction, right? So
I certainly would not have been booing.
No, of course not.
No.
No.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's how I would have reacted.
Yeah.
But I'm saying
mean one how one would have reacted?
No, I don't.
One as a hardcore Diablo. If someone was a hardcore,
I think that it would be naive to not expect that sort of reaction from some people.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure, so
and. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying I would have reacted like that. I'm not saying anyone should or shouldn't have reacted a certain way, whatever. But it is just a game. It's just a game. Like, I know that's our bread and butter games, and they're important. I completely agree. But like, it's not the people were acting like somebody put in like the day Diablo died in the comments.
Have you seen the petition?
There's a petition as well, is there?
Did you not know? I thought you were coming to that.
No.
There's a petition that is getting 35,000 signatures to cancel Diablo Immortal.
To cancel it, not even to
cancel it.
Like, this is the thing.
To cancel it.
I was watching somebody else's coverage. I can't remember who it was, but they were infinitely more astute than I am, and they were saying how no one at Blizzard went into a room and said, let's make a game to piss the fans off.
Exactly,
right,
which is one of the points I was about to make.
So, like, that was never the intention. It was a misstep to I think it was a misstep to present it that way to such a hardcore fan base. However, it's fine, let it go. If you don't want it, just don't buy it, don't play it.
I know.
Diablo 4 will come. There'll be plenty for you. Keep playing Diablo 3.
I just really don't get these kinds of reactions from people. It's just... Well, I'm trying to understand why.
Yeah, this is what
would.
What I was saying at the start, right? I'm trying to put myself in their shoes as a big Diablo fan. Like, if it's your favorite IP ever, I can kind of understand why it was a bit bad that the way they presented it.
Now you see,
but I don't get it. I
didn't realize, because I hadn't been following that. I didn't realize that they'd been teasing a new Diablo game. And I also didn't know about the whole, you've all got phones to come in.
Yeah, oh man.
Right. I thought that was pretty funny. Obviously, a lot of people don't. Yeah, it is a little bit odd that they would be teasing a Diablo game a lot. And
to have it on main
like
stage as a main announcement.
And then, yeah, I mean, I get why they're making it, because, like, you can see from things like Elder Scrolls Blades, and I was thinking of another game as well that was on, like, a big franchise or IP that was on. Oh, there's a Fallout. Well, there's also Bethesda, but there's Fallout Shelter, which is not quite the same thing.
Yeah,
but,
and there's also, even stuff like Fortnite is on mobile.
Yeah, yes. That's like, but I mean, Fortnite's like the game, just cross-play, right? Which is a bit different, but still.
I think,
and it's also on all the other platforms.
I think that the company that's making it, so it's not just being made by Blizzard. I think it's also being made by another company who makes mobile games, and a lot of their other mobile games look like Diablo clones.
Okay.
So they're obviously kind of well versed in the.
Yeah, I think it sounds to me like from the stuff that I didn't know until now that that was probably a bit silly to sort of tease a Diablo game, but I just don't get this huge outrage.
No, it's crazy.
I don't understand it. Like, well, yeah, I'm trying to understand it. I think, I don't know. I think people just like to, make a fuss. They like to. Some people just like to try and make a name for themselves in whatever nefarious way they want to. Right? They want to be the one that says, "I was leading the charge against the the Diablo project, right? By starting whoever it was that started the petition, people want to kind of. It's almost like people want to. They have this sort of arrogance to want to make a name for themselves.
I just don't get it, and it's becoming propagated more and more in gaming. This attitude.
It's really weird, and I often think whenever I hear some of these, some of these things that happen, how good does your life have to be when you get that annoyed about a fucking Diablo game,
Diablo Immortal,
a game that you don't even have to buy?
No,
like,
I mean,
it's not like I could understand it if they were releasing a game that you have to buy and it replaces your entire Steam library. Like that would be a legitimate complaint.
The thing is, like, I don't get this sort of outrage culture anyway. Like, if you don't want to play it, don't play it. Like, I will only go as far as to say it wasn't revealed in the best way. But honestly, there are people who wouldn't get 35,000 signatures to stop animal cruelty.
Yeah.
Or way worthier causes. It's a fucking mobile game. Like, just don't play it if you don't want to.
Yeah.
And also, it's not like it would still baffle me, but it would baffle me slightly less if this was Diablo 4. If they were like, this is Diablo 4 and it's on mobile only.
You should just say that.
Do you know what I mean? Like, if this is Diablo 4 and it's on mobile only, like if they said that, then I could understand people being like, what?
I think their main complaint was, or one of their main complaints was, that they were using development resources to make a mobile game when they could have made Diablo 4.
Billions a year. They have enough money to be developing Diablo 4 at the same time.
It also implies that the people who are making these complaints have an intimate knowledge of how development works at Blizzard, which they obviously don't.
I don't get it. In my opinion, it's a huge overreaction, not necessary at all. But do you think this is like... Why do you think this happened? Why do you think Blizzard fans or Diablo fans reacted like this?
I think people just like to complain. I think people like...
So you don't think it...
I think people... Do you remember the Puddlegate thing?
Oh, yeah,
recently?
Yeah.
I only found about this when I was on holiday, and I was like, what the hell's that? And I think people just like to... like one factor in it, I think, is that certain people just like to make a fuss on Reddit so someone can agree with them, and so they can be as somewhere in the fucking recesses of their head, they can be revered as some kind of validation, right? Like a leader of a cause, a great cause to rid the world of fucking mobile Diablo
Immortal, yeah.
Like,
it's
like do something. You want to be like, if you're that arrogant to have something, do something that gets you some kind of respect. Don't fucking waste your time.
This is what I'm saying.
Cancelling a Diablo game.
This is what I'm saying. Get it.
Go work for a charity or something.
Animal cruelty or something. Like stop animal cruelty. Like, or any charity to do. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me at all. And like,
it's not. It's baffling as well to especially. But people we know obviously what it's like to work in game development. So it's baffling to us when I think you hear these stories, because you think, like, what is going through your mind? Like, what do you think we're making decisions on? Like you said earlier about, like, as if everybody's sort of sat in a meeting, sort of rubbing their hands with glee, with evil faces, going, "Oh, this will fuck them up." Like,
Yeah, I don't like. Even if you subscribe to the idea that publishers are pushing developers to make games to make money, like microtransactions and all that sort of shit. Even if you subscribe to that idea, you can just not buy the game.
Yeah,
and then you subvert that problem. Yeah, just vote with your wallet.
And it also
right?
still, again, it implies that the people complaining about that have an intimate knowledge of the financial resources of that particular publisher or developer. Which, unless you do, I don't know how you're making that accusation.
But this is the thing, right? Puddlegate, fucking stupid. Reaction to Diablo Immortal, fucking stupid. Yeah. But on completely different levels. Like, Puddlegate was like a mildly amusing anecdote that I can't. Most of the internet were like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
But like, stock in the company has fallen. There's a petition with 35,000, and I'm just trying to get to: is this because it's Blizzard Activision, and is that because people have felt disillusioned with Blizzard Activision, their fans have been upset, or is it just the kind of fan that Diablo has that reacts like this? Because you would have to be a big Diablo fan to want to sign that petition, right?
Well, yes.
Or you'd want a cause.
But also I think people just sometimes like to rally behind a cause and like to feel part of something that they like to... I mean, it's like a human thing, I suppose, to want to feel like you're acting out on your own set of morals, and that you're getting behind something, that you're being part of what they think of as the greater good. Like you're giving your life meaning, right?
Yeah, some sort of
like you're giving your life meaning in a way, right? You're giving an accomplishment, right? Something to achieve.
Yeah.
But it's just done with a complete disregard for all of especially the developers and the publishers as well, because it's done for reasons that are almost nonsensical.
Yeah. And I mean, marketing missteps are one thing, but like completely dismissing the work of hundreds of hardworking developers that have taken time away from their family. Sometimes, we talk about crunch last week.
Yeah.
Often, I mean, I don't know whether crunching on Diablo Immortal, but like, it's just a product. If you see a trailer for a film that you don't like the look of, do you like petition Warner Brothers,
this is another big thing, actually.
Do you petition the production company that's made the movie to cancel it? Like, this is
another
you just don't
point, actually, that you don't see it as much in other media.
No,
I mean, you may see it a little bit in film. I'm not sure. Like maybe in the sort of big, like Star Wars and stuff like that, right?
Yeah,
the big
sort of slightly toxic fan bases can erupt, but also, I sometimes think it can be propagated by certain games media as well, because it becomes a story which gets sort of propagated, increased, clickbaited, and then it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, and then everyone's involved. And then think about the internet is anonymity. You can have your say.
Yeah.
Social media.
I think some people just fucking love the sound of their own voice.
Or their own opinions,
Yeah, and in a similar vein, like they love to voice an opinion and have people agree with them on it. And it doesn't really matter whether that's going to hurt other people or is silly or irrelevant. I think some people just like doing that. I mean, going back to the whole, there were controversies obviously about Star Wars Battlefront 2's loot crate system, for example. That was a big... Now, it was more, I think, there were some more valid points made about that. Well, many more valid points made about that than say the Prologate or the... But at the same time, like for example, most of this stuff just passes me by. I'm like, well, I don't really like the way people do loot boxes in games. I'm not really interested in it. I think maybe it dilutes the experience to an extent, but to be honest, I don't really give two shits about it. I'm not going to buy them. So
I think it becomes a problem. It becomes a problem, one, when it's a franchise you care about, and two, when it alters the game's fundamental design philosophies to make more money.
And there's the gambling issue as well.
Of course,
again,
that's also a fact. But I mean, like what they call like insidious or predatory. Stepping away from gambling for a second, because that's a whole other issue, and that's completely different. Yeah, but what we were talking about with Assassin's Creed the other week, the double experience thing. It's like, I didn't mind not buying that, and it didn't affect the game for me. But if they'd have made it impossible to level up, or very, very, very difficult to level up without buying that, if the game had just been less fun, without that thing, then you can kind of get. But again,
there's an element of
even if that's the case, it doesn't warrant this kind of reaction. It doesn't require petitions to cancel games. Cancel games which hundreds of people are working on.
It doesn't make. There's no rhyme nor reason to it, right?
Nonsense.
It's just people want to people want to vent their frustrations anyway. And I think this is just a human thing, actually.
Of course, yeah.
Because, like a lot of these things over the years, the last sort of, 10 or 15 years of gaming, you've started to get this more increasingly. But it's just come in the increasing communications technology we have, right? If in the 80s we had the power of the internet that we do today, or the power of instant communication across the world that we do today, I think we'd still find the same people. To be honest,
and
I don't think people talk a lot about this kind of stuff. Generations. Oh, people are different now. Young people are different now. I don't think that's the case. I think just technology has changed and just given outlets.
I think that it's a weird one. I certainly think social media has changed the way people react. I think that like outrage culture and things like that, and people overreacting and things, and sometimes underreacting, has come out of an internet culture that's often fueled by social media, because the interesting thing about social media is often it creates an echo chamber. This is my opinion, this is my opinion. Oh, I don't like that person's opinion, so I'll block them. Now I'm in an echo chamber with me and those people that agree with me. So it's weird. It's like if social media and that kind of whole internet culture has formed this society, but it probably would have still formed this society in the 80s.
Yeah, it would.
But it's not because the people were always the same. It's because, it has been shaped by culture. Like
people are molded by it.
Yeah, often by technology. Yeah. So I think that
there's always a flip side to all of that. Mass instant communication is that when I remember growing up in the 80s, that all you had for communication in terms of news media was TV or newspaper.
And we're talking in very general terms, right?
Radio, but yeah.
We're talking in very general terms. Obviously, everyone disappointed by Diablo Immortal is not, signing a petition. Obviously, not every Diablo fan is, that outraged or to blame for this overzealous. And obviously, people are disappointed by Diablo Immortal, which is why I prefixed it at the start with what I said. I get it. But, I just this sort of unnecessary,
unnecessary, completely unnecessary. Yeah. I think personally, people just like to, people just like to shoot their mouth off. I think,
and it's kind of ignorant of a lot of people who are working on these projects. Like, it's all very well and good saying cancel it, don't bring it out, but think about the logistics of people who have worked hard, people who have done stuff that they're proud of, people who are working and have families that have to support. It's an industry.
Stupid. Like I
cancel it because I don't like it.
Yeah. It's like,
crazy to me. I don't know.
Yeah. I think Blizzard should just. Well, it's probably difficult for them as being a big company, but I think they should pretty much ignore it. Like ignore the reaction.
I think the train's left the station.
Yeah.
But I think that some shareholders might be annoyed if they're losing money when it's. But I think they
Blizzard.
should. The train's left the station. I think they should just continue with Diablo Immortal.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to do much damage to the brand. I think that if in a year they announced Diablo 4, I think that everyone would be back.
Yeah.
I don't think
it's like. Do you remember? Actually, I forgot to mention that. It's like. Do you remember when before Diablo 3 came out? And there was a backlash on the art style of Diablo 3.
It's weird. There's some revisionist history on Diablo 3 anyway, because there's a lot of people who say it was beloved from when it came out. I remember when it came out.
It wasn't.
And everyone fucking hated it.
Yeah, it wasn't.
A lot of hardcore Diablo 2 fans
It's actually been one of the weaker, I think, of the...
It didn't have the...
probably the weakest, actually.
It didn't have the ladder system.
Franchise in that period.
It didn't have the ladder system. It had the real money auction house, which was a fucking shit show.
It's still a reasonably linear game.
I mean, I love it, but... Yeah, so there's revisionist history there, so... I don't know. Anyway...
Yeah. I like the fact that Blizzard reacted to that by showing off a level with, rainbows and unicorns.
Yeah.
It was the secret one level. It's like a secret level.
The cow level.
Yeah. Anyway, probably move
sorry.
on because,
Tangent again.
Yeah.
Prone to tangents today. What other news have we got going on? Oh, yeah, this is a big one for me. I know you're not a Final Fantasy guy.
Uh-huh.
This is an interesting bit of PR as well. So last week, so Final Fantasy 15, huge game, took forever to make, took like a decade to make. And when it came out, it has been sort of tweaked and patched a lot since. And then there's been 3 main DLCs out, a multiplayer DLC mode, and which is massive, and loads of like quality of life changes has come out, and like whole loads of, and then they also released the Royal Edition, which was like an expansion on its own. So there's been like 4 or 5 big expansions for this game since it came out in 2015.
Right,
I think it came out in 2016. 2016,
maybe
2016. I think. Yeah, I don't know. 2016, I think. I don't want to commit to it. Anyway, there was supposed to be 4 more DLCs planned. And also the multiplayer mode was supposed to be coming out as a separate like boxed copy. So last week they were like, Square Enix said there's going to be a live stream, or there's going to be a stream about Final Fantasy 15.
Okay.
This week. So fans were like, oh, what's it going to be? And we've known for a while that there's going to be what the DLCs are about. One's about Noctis, one's about Arden, one was about Luna Freya, and one was about the character whose name I can never remember. So it turns out the live stream happened, it wasn't a live stream. It was like it was like them prefixing saying there's going to be some news, a video or whatever. The news came out today that the game's director, Hajime Tabata, has resigned from Square Enix, and 3 out of 4 of the planned DLC packs have been cancelled.
Oh, shit.
So now we're just getting the Arden DLC, and the Comrades multiplayer is coming out separately still, but that's it. Now, the Arden one was the one I was looking forward to most, but the Noctis, the Luna Freya, and the other one, all cancelled, and the director of the game has parted ways with the company, which...
What?
Is fucking crazy.
This reminds me of that thing last week when you were saying about the guy who would cut off his own head if... was it Silent Hill released?
No, it was Resident Evil 4.
4.
Yeah, the game's like director or something. Yeah, so that's weird, right? I mean, I know you're not a big Final Fantasy fan. It's hit me a little harder than it's hit you because I was looking forward to all of these DLCs.
Well, I tried to play 15 last year when we sort of got together, and a few guys from work were playing it because it's cross-play PS4 and PC as well.
15? Do you mean 14?
Oh, sorry, 14.
Yeah,
oh, right,
this is 15.
Yeah, I really don't know a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 15 is the one with a car in it. And,
yeah. Boy band road trip, as it's commonly called.
I was never really into
I like
anyway,
it.
so.
I liked it, but like I really liked it. I liked it more than I thought I would. But and I mean, to be honest, Arden's DLC was the DLC I was looking forward to the most. So I'm glad that's still coming out. That will be really cool. But it's kind of a bit of a weird one, really. I don't really know why that's happened.
Yeah.
I heard from, I think it was GameSpot or someone like that they'd posted some losses.
Oh, really?
Square Enix. It had posted sort of a $33 million loss. So, even though I think they've been doing pretty well the last few years, so I feel like maybe, and this is pure conjecture, but maybe, they realised they were at a loss. The Arden DLC was far along anyway, because we'd already seen a trailer. They released a trailer for it. So the Arden DLC was almost done, but to cut back on money, they cancelled the other 3 DLCs, which prompted the director to leave. I don't know. That's just conjecture.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Something like that has obviously gone on.
They're also secretive, like in Japan, I think.
Well,
I don't know,
the games
maybe.
industry in general is quite secretive.
Yeah.
But even more so in Japan about... I mean, you only have to look at the Kojima Konami fallout.
That's another thing I was thinking of. So you don't really know what's going on.
No. But yeah, anyway, that's some sad news for Final Fantasy fans out there, myself included. I know you don't care, but it is available on PC, so you should care.
I think I'm not going to be getting that anytime soon.
Oh, I thought you played every game on PC.
Apart from Final Fantasy 15.
It's just the only game. It's in your Steam library, you just don't play it.
Probably is, to be honest.
Yeah, who knows? Your Steam library's out of control. Yeah, so that's a little bit of news anyway. What else we got? One of the pieces of news here ties into what I was talking about earlier. Destiny 2 is free on PC at the moment for this month.
Yes, it is.
So get it. It's free if you've got a decent PC.
Is it free? Completely free, like you get it and you keep it for free, or is
yep, you keep it for free.
Okay, right, yeah. I mean, I don't need to because I've already got it.
You got it in the Humble Bundle thing, yeah. But like, yeah, no, I didn't have it on PC, so yeah, it's completely free forever as long as you download it within the next month. You just have to have like a Blizzard launcher and download it. Yeah. And as I say, if you've got a good PC, just try it out, man, because it's great on PC.
It's probably I need to put more time into it to see if I really enjoy it.
So yeah, I should have really mentioned that earlier, but it's free. To sort of tying in with that, PUBG is temporarily free on Xbox One.
Yeah, that's only timed. That's timed, right?
Well, here's the weird thing. So it was reported on, I think, Eurogamer, I want to say, that, or somewhere like that it was the wording made it look like it was only free, like a long free weekend. So it's free until the 11th of November. There's like a glorified demo. But then I read an article on IGN which seemed to indicate that it was free forever. It would stay in your game's library forever as long as you downloaded it before the 11th. Now, obviously, you still need to buy a PlayStation Xbox Live Gold.
Oh, right, Gold, yeah.
However, it might be worth just downloading it.
It might do, because
if you've got an Xbox, we don't know whether it's free forever or not.
Because they can still support themselves with the deal, all of the microtransactions.
I'm not sure how it plays nowadays on Xbox One. I know it played like utter shit when it came out.
I have no idea. I'd be interested to find out, actually, because I know on PC they've done loads of optimizations in the last 3 to 6 months or so. It's really come. I mean, it's still got a kind of shitty menu and some shitty UI elements, but like it's still a good game. It's still PUBG, right? But it's had a lot of optimizations. I wonder if those optimizations have made their way to Xbox.
I mean, I haven't seen. I know that people like Digital Foundry were keeping a close eye on it when it was first being patched, but I haven't seen any coverage of it for a while. You'd think if there'd been some holy grail patch, we'd know about it. But
yeah, but I think these are just things that I noticed just playing it. Not stuff like, not big announcements about it, right?
But just because there was a bit of like backlash because it played so much worse on Xbox One than it does on PC.
I mean, it looked fucking terrible on Xbox.
Yeah, I mean,
when it came out last December,
12 FPS.
Yeah,
that's some fucking Bush League Blighttown shit. Like, that's a Dark Souls reference. For those of us who
it's
played,
funny how because a lot of PC games are playing it potentially at 10 times that frame rate.
Insane. It's like when Dark Souls came out on PS3, when I first played it on PS3, there's an area called Blighttown, which is notorious for being straining on on your rig, whatever it is. Yeah, your console in this instance. GPU. It's like a difficult area to run, and it ran at like 10 to 12 frames per second. Imagine playing Dark Souls at 12 frames a second. Like, where everything in the world can kill you instantly. Yeah, they've fixed it now, but in the remaster. But yeah, Dark Souls reference. So yeah, PUBG, download it. Why not? If you've got an Xbox One X, or an Xbox One. So 3 more NES Classics games are coming to Switch this week. One of them is Metroid. I can tell you that for free. I don't know what the other 2 are, but Metroid's a big one.
Yeah,
for the Switch's online service. Your free NES games. So that'll be cool, I guess. I mean, dependent on whether you use the Switch for that. I did try it. Oh, sorry, I have a friend who tried it and wasn't too impressed with the layout, with the UI. There's a bit of a strange UI going on with it where it shows you the inputs in the borders of the game, which is a bit strange. I don't know. You don't even have a Switch, so you didn't even need to comment on that anyway.
No, I don't have a Switch.
I
wish I did.
Yeah. So what else? Oh, so here's some sort of pseudo-related news. Spiderman second DLC has a release date. Turf Wars comes out on November 20th. The second part of its DLC. The first part's already out.
Okay. That's pretty quick.
Yeah, I think it was already... They were advertising the DLC date for the first DLC before the game even launched.
Okay. Right.
So I think it was kind of a plan. So yeah, if you like Spider-Man, which most people do, That'll be out on the 20th. But more interestingly than that, apparently Sunset Overdrive, which is also made by Insomniac, same company that makes Spiderman, and it has a lot of the genes, apparently, that it shares its DNA with Spiderman a
I
little
can
bit.
imagine there's probably a lot
open world traversal.
code sharing.
And it was previously it is an Xbox One exclusive, but apparently it's been rated for PC. That's the rumor.
Interesting. I think I remember playing that game a long time ago on console, not on PC, obviously.
Well, yeah, it's an Xbox One exclusive, so. It's a weird game. It's kind of really like a really, really striking art style, and it's all about traversal and guns, loads of different guns. It's kind of cartoony. It's kind of funny. It's got some clever writing.
I think I must have played it when it came out.
It was like a big seller for the Xbox One. It was like a new IP, but it didn't. I don't know how they never made a sequel or anything. Yeah. So yeah, those two bits of news are related. What else have we got?
Overwatch.
Oh fuck! Should have put this in the Blizzard section. Apparently, Overwatch now has its own cereal in the US. They've partnered with Kellogg's.
Why not?
And now it has. They're like.
Is it a specific character or something? Or is it like?
Yes, I don't know a lot about Overwatch, so I don't know who it is.
Like Tracer or something like that.
Maybe we can put a link in the description.
In the show notes. Just where to buy when you get it imported.
yeah. It's not available in the UK. It's only available in the US. Apparently, it must be like an adaptation of.
Lucio. Okay.
Lucio. I don't know who that
Lucio.
is. Yeah. They're called Lucios.
Oh right, these are like Cheerios.
Incredible.
Why?
Wow.
It's. I suppose it is that kind of it's really heavy character driven, but still.
Yeah. So there you go, Lucios.
Oh God. Now I've got. Wow.
Yeah. Only available in the US, I'm afraid, though. So imports. You need to get a PO box. You get people to send us Lucios. Anyone listening in America?
Oh man.
So yep. What else have we got? Oh, this is an interesting one. This War of Mine. You know that game?
Yes, I do know.
It's coming to Switch,
which is good.
On November 27th.
Again, another game that suits Switch very well.
I have never played it. I think I have it. I think I have it on PlayStation.
A little bit.
And I know people who have played it and swear by it.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting premise.
Yep.
For a game, a very interesting setting. I think it's set in Israel.
Can't remember. But the general premise is that you're sort of...
Maybe it's Palestine. I don't want to get that wrong.
You're more like a civilian caught in the middle of a wartime conflict.
But yeah, and it's set in an actual... It's actually historically based on an event, on a particular...
Oh, maybe it's set in Beirut.
I can't remember. I'm sorry. That's terrible. I should know. But I haven't really played it much. I haven't really looked into it much. But I know a lot of people... It's like heavy survival. It's quite depressing.
Yeah, it is, because you've got to go out and sort of scavenge food, but you've got to be wary of soldiers
and people people in your camp can die of starvation and
it's about the civilian cost of war, essentially.
Yeah, and it's 2D perspective. It's got an interesting art style. It's like 2.5D.
Yeah,
think of it like a really, really grown up, realistic Fallout Shelter.
That's probably
not to undermine its message.
That's probably a pretty good way to describe it.
Yeah. And it's supposed to be quite hard as well. It's supposed to be really difficult.
Yeah.
To 100% or to even get through.
You're fucked then.
Yeah, I'm fucked. No, I'll try it out at some point. I mean, I might get on Switch. Why not?
Switch.
Why the fuck not?
Yeah.
And I actually think that is all we have for the news.
I think we've covered quite a lot.
No. There's one more. And it's ironic, really, that we waited this long to dispense this piece of news.
Oh, yeah.
Because 5 years on, DayZ has finally hit its beta.
Finally hit beta?
It's finally hit...
Not release.
Nope.
Beta.
Yeah, beta. It's in beta now. So I played DayZ once for about 30 seconds, a couple of minutes on someone else's console. PC, sorry. And I had no fucking idea what
I played
there
it
are so many.
I played it a lot more than that.
There are so many, like, because it's an armor mod, right?
Yeah.
The buttons are fucking mental.
Yeah.
Like, you can do.
Well, that's like what the original, like PUBG, the original Battle Royale.
And Armor and Armor 2 and all that sort of stuff. So, and I'm not. Bear in mind, at this time, I didn't have my own gaming PC, so all my gaming was being done on console.
Oh man!
So imagine stumbling in to DayZ on PC.
Were you with friends when you played DayZ?
Like I said, I was with somebody who just bought it.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Right.
Neither one of us had ever played it before.
Oh God!
So we've got no direction, no idea what's like, no idea what any of the controls do or anything. He'd obviously played the start, and I just came in. So I know nothing. I know very little about DayZ, other than I know what it is, how long it's been in development, but I don't know moment to moment how it plays.
It was probably. I felt the same emotions playing sections of DayZ that I do when I play PUBG. Actually, now, but to a larger extent, probably in DayZ, that it's more. Your encounters are more dramatic, probably because DayZ is meant as a long-form survival game, right? PUBG is meant as a match, like a 20-minute match, right? DayZ is meant as a survival game, survive against the zombies that are coming after you, try and survive, and also... But actually, what is interesting about it as well is that it's meant to be basically zombie survival game, right? And you've got to eat, and you've got to... And now they've put all these mad mechanics in, like, you know, you've got to... be careful of there's normal heat and cold and like just temperature and that is heat, hot and cold. Wow, words
I know we haven't
words are trying to come out of my mouth.
I know we've been going almost 2 hours, but
this is ridiculous.
Try and use your words.
Try and use those words, but in that zombie survival, you've got to take care of yourself, survive. But there are also other players in the world. Now, unlike PUBG, those other players are not necessarily hostile.
So it's kind of like Rust with zombies?
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't played Rust either, but...
I played a bit of Rust, but not as much as DayZ. And when I played DayZ, it was a long time ago. So there's a potential for players to be friendly, but you don't really know that.
Yeah.
Right? So there's these sort of like moments where you'll come across a player and there's a lot of tension, there's a lot of drama in those moments, and then maybe they'll pull a gun on you and try and shoot you to get your stuff, and then you're gonna have to fight them back, and it's permadeath, right? Pretty much permadeath. So you die, you start
lose all
back
your
at the
stuff.
beach. Yeah, it's also got like because it goes much more for the realism than something like PUBG. You have a map, but you can't see yourself on that map unless you have a GPS. So you've got to figure out where you are. Right? If you've got friends as well, if you die and usually when you start, like we have like 3 or 4 friends that play together, we'll spawn in different locations. We first got to figure out where we are and where they are, and then get to them. All the while being hunted by zombies.
That sounds like it could be awesome.
Yeah, it is.
But my worry is that
it's
it's just convoluted, like to play.
Well, I think most of the problems with DayZ are not so much the convolution of the mechanics, but more the fact that it's fucking broken half the time. Like you'll climb up a ladder to a water tower or something, then just fall off because the game, because physics. Falling through floors, falling through staircases and things like that, and then you're on the floor and you're dead and all your loot's gone. You might have got some great loot, that kind of thing. But it's cool. You can fix up helicopters and fly them eventually. It's like almost like an end goal sort of thing.
Wow.
To do. You can raid other people's tents because people leave tents with their stuff in them.
Yeah, of course.
When they log off, right? And you can try and raid their tents, but they might have set up traps and all this kind of stuff. It's really tense. Long drawn out tension. It is good. Like again, I think the theme of this podcast has been like games with really high concepts and poor execution. To be honest.
Yeah.
So
I mean, apart from
I want it. It's one of those games like I want it like Star Citizen, right? I want it to be good. I want it to be fixed. I want it to run well because it run like fucking dog shit. They basically they had a whole new engine.
I thought that they
made a whole new engine.
I thought there was like a feeling online that it was just never going to come out of early access.
Yeah,
but apparently they're still working on it because it's moved into beta, right? So
yeah, the main guy doesn't even work on it anymore because he did. I don't think he does anyway. No, because he does something else.
Someone's working on it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Can't remember his name now. Dan something. Whatever.
Sounds like you're making it up.
Yeah. Anyway.
So that really is the last piece of news.
Yeah.
So.
Yay.
Yeah, I guess we should end this episode before you get even worse, get even more senile.
Yeah. What are words, Giles? What are words?
I don't understand the difference between shapes and colours.
Okay.
Well.
That was episode 5.
Yes. Done.
Bye.
Wait.
Plugging.
Yeah.
The podcast.
The fuck is the matter with you? So, yeah, you can follow us on Twitter at Blackspine Media.
Yep.
You can... we were on YouTube, which is good for our telemetry because it tells us how many of you are listening. But you can also find us on iTunes and Spotify. Please like, subscribe, all of that shit.
Yeah, and crucially, if you want to actually ask us questions, we're open to it. Because we really should. I say this at the end of every episode, but if you want to ask a question, just send us a message and we'll read it out.
The easiest way, is to either send us a tweet or a DM on Twitter or just put a YouTube comment in.
Yeah, it can make for a topic of discussion as well. So
yeah, we're fine. All ideas are fine. We're trying to get some telemetry on iTunes and stuff like that.
We do. iTunes is a bit of a weird one at the moment, but the rest of them we do have it.
But if you like and subscribe, I know it sounds wank, but if you like and subscribe, then because of algorithms on Spotify, iOS, but also especially YouTube, the more people we can get liking and subscribing, the more people we'll reach, which is kind of really important. And then the more feedback we can get, and the better we can make the show. So and maybe incorporate other shows. Yeah, who knows? Yeah.
The better I will get at words.
Yeah, the more words we can teach Simon.
The more words we can say.
Yeah, the more words we can teach Simon, and then
the more words we can say betterly.
It's Hitman withdrawal. You need to buy Hitman too.
It probably is.
Right. Anyway.
Cool. That was fun.
Yes. Bye.